Welcome to Perspective. She's already laughing. Oh my gosh. My name is Reed Bailey. I'm joined by my lovely wife, Madison.
Hello.
And this is the podcast for interesting topics and interesting guests. Join us down this path where we're going to discover a lot together. The goal of this podcast is really to have interesting people on that we think might have something cool to share, as well as kind of give young people a new platform to share things that are going on or things in politics, social media, really all sorts of areas. If you hear the cat in the background, that is Murphy. He's very upset that we have not let him in our bedroom right now. So we're really happy to have a range of guests lined up covering a lot of topics. So we're looking forward to that. A little bit about us. I come from a background in technology, entertainment, media, arts, all of that. Love games, movies. We love watching movies together. Before, spent a lot of time in 3D art, 3D modeling. Love the creative process and all of that. We've both worked in ministry, so we definitely have a lot that we're passionate about in ministry. But yeah, that's a little bit about me, and I'll pass the microphone and Madison can tell everybody kind of what she likes.
Yeah, well, I'm a huge book nerd. I love books, even though I haven't been able to read them all. I just keep buying new ones. It's kind of a habit. And I love ministry. I love worship. I love seeing revival break out. That's kind of my dream. I also love young people. I love all generations. I really love old people too. I freak out in nursing homes. You can ask Reed.
Yeah, I'm going to steal this real quick. She loves old people. Like, I've literally seen her, like, she'll see like an old man, like, pick up a rock or grab his glasses and she'll be like, oh my gosh, he's so beautiful. Does he have anybody to hold him? So one thing I love about her is she really has a heart for people. And she really wants people to be encouraged, loved, and that's why she's great in ministry too. But don't mean to interrupt you.
I mean, I also really like superhero movies. I'm sure that's everyone's thing, but I'm a huge fan of Captain America and Superman in general. And I love the Snyder Cut. The Snyder Cut was amazing.
Yeah, so we just finished watching Zack Snyder's Justice League cut. If you're not aware of it, like, first Justice League, pretty bad. That Superman stash. Ooh, Snyder Cut, much better. Don't worry, it's only 4 hours long, so you can watch it real quick over the course of 3 days. Yeah, much better movie. If you haven't seen the DC movies yet, go watch them. Not as good as some Marvel stuff, but still really enjoyable. So Snyder Cut's much better. Go watch it. So that kind of brings us to, what is our topic today? It's not the Snyder Cut. So kind of like before, we want to have interesting people, interesting topics, or just things that we like to share, but something that will really bring value to you, something that might widen your perspective or might encourage you or just might be really, really interesting. So for today's topic, it's really going to be the story of us and how we met and kind of like what our backgrounds are, and we'll kind of start there. So I'll let Madison ask the first question.
So you got to tell our viewers how we met. It was basically through Reed and through a dream. Yeah, you heard that right. It was through a dream. That's really how I met. I crashed his dreams in the middle of the night. Had no idea that I crashed your dreams. So go ahead.
Wow. How do you answer that? That needs some clarification. So we had both been, looking to find our future spouse, or we were connected through a church as well. And I had kind of gotten to that point where I was like, I'm looking for the right person, trusting God, being patient. And my family had known about Madison, and my parents were just so convinced that she was the person for me. So one night, my dad prayed and said, God, if this is the right girl for Reed, you've got to get his attention, because he's not paying attention right now. Because at the time, you just weren't on my radar. I was worried about something else. Basically, I have that dream, and I'm like, whoa, it's this really specific dream about her, and she wasn't on my radar at all. So I'm like, man, what do I do with this? So that led me down a path of going to meet her and hanging out and talking to her parents. And something important that we did was really date with purpose. And I think that's really important for men out there, is to not only to respect their own time, but for the woman's time as well. As, making your intentions known. I mean, sure, there's definitely a period of time where you're getting to know somebody and figuring that stuff out. But I think for us in our stage of life, like, we wanted to find our person, and we were really clear with each other up front, that we were looking to really figure out, date to marry, essentially figure out who our spouse was. And hey, if it didn't work out, no big deal. But I'm like, I had this dream, I got to figure this out. Like, it was girls in my dreams. Like, what is this, a Disney movie or something? Or a Disney minus movie? So yeah, I'll have to tell you about Disney minus. It's a really strange meme. It's really weird. Yeah, if you want to like ruin your evening, go Google Disney minus. It's like really weird. Like, I think instead they make fun of Frozen, and instead of Frozen they call it Melted. And it's like horrible animation on Disney movies. It's weird. So anyway, yeah. So we dated, and it all came together. We got engaged about 4 months in, which I never planned that. It just happened early. And when you found the right person and God's involved, it makes the whole process easier. But Madison, what advice would you give to people out there that maybe are tired of getting hurt out there in the dating world, or, maybe they don't know how God fits in their life, but they know they want to find the right person, and maybe they haven't had luck out there, or they think they're with someone they're supposed to be? How kind of direction, or how would you encourage those people?
Yeah, my main advice would be seek the Lord on it, because that's what I did with Reed. Is we both really asked each other, like, hey, do you feel like God's telling you, like, we're the ones for each other? And I think one of the major things, like, I knew that he was the one for me, is that I wrote down a list of, get this, 65 different things about what I wanted in a man. It was way over the top, and I made it very specific. And what was cool is, like, he literally was every single one of the things on my future husband list, and then some. Like, God really showed up and showed out when he, like, added more things to it. It was just really, really cool to see God work. And that's how you know when they're the one, is, like, when you have that list and God kind of, like, shoves your list aside and says, yeah, he's everything on the list, and then some. It was pretty cool. And then my advice would be, don't lose hope. I mean, there's like so many girls out there that are hopeless that they're going to not meet their mate. Honestly, I prayed for him my whole life, and all the prayers worked. Like, all the relationships Reed was in didn't work out. It was because I prayed that they wouldn't work out. It was pretty great for me, not for him. And one of the main things that I figured out is that summer before I met Reed, I was chasing all these guys. I was really wanting something to happen. I was wanting a guy. I was really wanting a relationship. And I just kept chasing and chasing. And finally one day I was like, God, I'm done. I don't care if I'm 20. I don't care if I'm 25. I don't care if I'm freaking 35. I do not want a guy unless it's someone you have for me and in the right timing. Like, Lord, I don't care when I date. Just bring him whenever the timing's right. Sure enough, legit, a week or two later, Reed jumped in the picture. And so I think that's something a lot of girls don't miss, is that they don't give it to the Lord, and they don't say, like, hey, Lord, this is yours. This is your thing. Like, I'm not going to worry about it, and I'm not going to chase all these guys down. And there you were. So that's my advice.
Yeah, another thing I would encourage people with that maybe are dating to find their spouse is when Isaac sent out his servant to find a wife for his son, the servant gets to the city and is going. Back then there was so much honor and respect between a servant and a master, at least in this situation. And the servant really gets to the city going like, God, like, I want to like please my master. Like, help me find this wife for my master's son, And it says before that he could finish praying in his heart, there was Rebecca. And what I like about that was God had already provided the solution before he had finished praying in his heart. So what I would encourage all those people out there, maybe you've been hurt in dating, maybe the church has offended you, maybe you're trying to find the right one and you're just having no luck. I would just say, just know that any time that you spend with God is not only a seed that'll grow into something, and God will reward you for that, but God's got a better plan than yours. And I heard a pastor once say that, like, he was talking about the verse that says, don't separate what God put together, and when it's talking about marriage. But this one pastor took it a step further and said, did you put your relationship together, or did God do it?
Oh, that's good.
And I'm like, oh, darn. Like, but I think that's a healthy way to actually examine, like, hey, if you've been in a relationship for a while, like, I'm not saying leave immediately, but I'm just saying you got to know that, like, God has brought you two together with a purpose, because once butterflies fly away, once real life hits you, it's really, really nice to know that, like, hey, God has either spoke to me or encouraged me, or I've gotten counsel on this. Like, it's so helpful when you know you're supposed to be with that person, because when life hits, you've got that spiritual pillar that you can lean on, instead of like, hey, we've always dated for 5 years and this is just the way it is, and he'll probably propose. I'm like, girl, you need to get a good man of God that's going to treat you right, because if he hasn't proposed now, you need to let him know. Yeah, because you might not only be wasting his time, or he might be wasting your time, but it could also be taking away from the right one that's probably on the way. So just trust God.
That's a good one. That's a really good one. So Reed, what does dating with purpose look like for you?
I think from a guy's point of view, like, I think guys want to feel just really comfortable with their decisions when it comes to this. And I think, again, if you're doing this the way like we did, you really got to trust God, let him lead you with the timing. Because I never thought I would propose as quickly as I did, like in our relationship. But I also kind of got some confirmations along the way that, like, the timing was right and all those things. And again, it's really helpful because I know God was involved in the process. It wasn't like, hey, I just met you somewhere. And if that's the background you're coming from, you might be going like, man, what are you guys talking about? And I would just encourage you, there is a better way. Like, God has a better plan than your plan. Like, you really want to do it his way, because if he knit you in your mother's womb, then he already knows exactly who's meant to be your other half. Exactly. So as a guy, I would say you really need to let the leadership of the relationship, you really need to submit that before God, because guys, if you're out there wasting girls' time, like, it's a disservice to everybody, and you just got to do it the right way.
Exactly. So dating with purpose for me looks like setting boundaries, because something that I did when Reed and I first started dating, legit the first week after you asked me to be your girlfriend, you totally kissed me. And I remember hearing the Lord say, don't kiss him until December. And we were dating in October at the time. And it was just, to me, of course, I didn't like hearing that, but it was good for me to know that I need to set this boundary with him now to see if he'll honor it. And so what was cool is, like, the Lord really helped us, because during those 2 months, it really, really brought into perspective of, like, what our relationship looked like, because we only were talking. We never had any kissing, any, like, stuff going on. I think that's what really, like, blocks a lot of people. It's like when they're dating, they're thinking, ooh, let me get the next kiss in. In reality, you just need to talk. You need to, like, really come face to face with the reality of what your past was like, stuff like that. And I think it really helped build the foundation of our relationship, is going through our past. Not only just, like, not just, like, talking about, like, hey, I did this in my past. No, it's, like, unveiling everything. Like, if this is the guy God's really meant for you, he's not going to run away. And he's going to embrace you and your past sin, maybe your past relationship issues, maybe you have trust issues, you're hurt, whatever. I think it's good to talk about all that in the beginning of the relationship, so that by the end of the relationship, before he proposes, he's never going to leave you, and he's not going to run away just because of something you did.
Yeah, I think it's just providing the context for the relationship, and knowing that we're not just here to hang out and have fun and be friends. Like,
yeah.
Yeah, and I think people just need to be encouraged. Like if you're not with the right person, it's time to move on.
Yeah.
And if you're married or in a relationship and you're trying to figure out what to do next, like you really need to bring this before God, because I mean, a covenant is a really big deal, and I think that's what we've kind of lost in our culture and our society right now, is the value of a covenant and what a covenant means and how this is more than an agreement. So I think we covered a lot of good stuff there. I think this is a really good topic that we could probably touch on again and maybe provide more there. But yeah, this is kind of like the Christian dating topic one. So if you're out there and you have questions, or you want to hear us talk about something specific, whether it's related to this or something else, definitely let us know in the comments. Find us on Instagram. Just search for Perspective or Perspective Show. We'll have that account up here really shortly. So let us know what you think. We want to connect with our community. And we're really looking forward to these next episodes. We're going to cover anything from like some cool things in the health area of like health and the power of your words, to TikTok, some new things that are happening with TikTok, technology trends, as well as some really deep and meaningful topics too. So that's kind of where we're headed, and we're happy to be on this journey with everybody. So thanks for tuning in, and Madison, I'll throw it over to you for any closing comments.
Well, let us know what topics you want to see on our podcast. We love your ideas. We definitely want to hear what you want to hear. So please let us know. Once we get that Instagram account running, we would love to do a Q&A with you guys. We love to figure out what you guys want to hear and what guests you want to have on. Yeah. And thank you for joining us for this podcast. This has been a dream in the making. Reed and I have definitely had this podcast in our hearts for like at least over a year. And we kept tossing around like so many different like podcast names. Like I was overthinking it. And finally Reed was like, just do it. Let's just do it. Just do it.
So should we have like a saying or something that we end with? Where we're
should.
like, oh, perspective or something like.
Oh, you're cutting this part?
No, I'm not cutting it. I don't know. How do we end? Just be like, oh, fade to black, or we like perspective. And that is the end of episode 1. Tune in next week.